I want to let you know there's some pretty good political news out there that's breaking this morning. First of all, the former mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, seriously considering a possible presidential run. Sources tell CNN he'd run as an independent candidate, is looking at making a decision sometime in March. The New York Times reports he'd be willing to spend $1 billion of his own money on the White House bid. And Republican frontrunner Donald Trump feeling so confident about his presidential campaign that yesterday he said his supporters would stay loyal even if he shot someone in a busy street.
My people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
Although you can kind of hear people laughing in the background there. With just 1 week until the nation's first caucuses in Iowa, the Des Moines Register has given its coveted presidential endorsement to Republican Senator Marco Rubio and Democrat Hillary Clinton. Notably, the paper interviewed every major 2016 candidate with the exceptions of Republican frontrunners Donald Trump and Ted Cruz, who both declined. So let's talk about this with Jason Johnson, politics editor at TheRoot.com. And I want to start with those endorsements. First of all, how much do they mean in today's race? Things have changed. The landscape of politics has changed.
Yeah, Chrissy, it doesn't weigh that much. They've only been doing it since '88, so it's not like we've got some long history that they picked John Kennedy or something like that. And usually, only about 4 times in the last 6 elections has the person that the Des Moines Register gave their endorsement to actually ended up being the nominee. So it may help internally. It may make your people feel enthusiastic. It may bring in more money, but it doesn't guarantee you're going to win the nomination. It doesn't even guarantee you're going to win Iowa.
But it's interesting that both Cruz and Trump declined that interview.
Yeah, because that's an indicator that they understand, or they believe they understand, there's an anti-establishment feeling in the Republican caucus. So, yeah, why do I need to do this endorsement? I'm with the real people. I don't need this newspaper.
Okay, I gotcha. Let's move on here to Mr. Bloomberg saying that he is looking at a possible run, telling the New York Times in a report this morning, he's just so frustrated with what he's seen out there that he feels compelled to at least look into this.
Right.
If he gets into the race, Battle of the Billionaires. Is that what it would become? Because he's got a lot more money than Trump. I mean, Trump's out there saying, I got all this money and I can self-fund. He's got 9 times the money Trump does, according to Forbes.
That is true. Look, Michael Bloomberg's got a ton of money. He's connected to a network. But I don't know, maybe this is what happens when you're like stir crazy and you're trapped in your house with the snow, because he's done this before. I don't think he's got much of a chance of actually entering this race. And here's the key. Most of what he said in interviews is he would get involved if it was Trump versus Bernie Sanders, 2 candidates who are polar opposites, who he thinks will polarize the country. If it ended up being Marco Rubio and Hillary Clinton, I don't think Michael Bloomberg gets involved.
Well, but maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's not really there to win. Maybe there's a strategy here to shake things up. Because let's face it, even if he got in the race,
right.
I've heard, in fact, the New York Times today has this report that they talked to Ed Rendell, former, governor of Pennsylvania, and a lifelong Democrat, and he said, I'd consider voting for him. Yeah. How would that shake it up? Would it hurt Dems? Would it hurt Republicans more? Can you prognosticate?
Well, I think it depends on who the candidate is. So if Donald Trump is running, I definitely think Michael Bloomberg takes away from him. Okay. If Hillary Clinton is running, I think he can take away from her. If it was Hillary versus Donald, I think he takes away from both of them. But I think at the end, first off, it's really difficult to run as a third-party candidate. He really doesn't necessarily have a name that people outside of the tri-state area in New York or the media necessarily know one way or another. And he would have a really long slot. But I'll say this. Nobody gets into a presidential race just to prove a point. He'd be in it to win it, so he'd be spending all that money and trying to get on the ballot in all 50 states.
Okay. And you don't think it's possible?
I don't think it's possible.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see, because as he said, he's going to make a decision in March, so we don't even know if it's going to happen. But Donald Trump, we were laughing when we saw the soundbite. And I'm laughing just because you never know what's going to come out of the man's mouth. That I thought, is this not the craziest thing we've heard yet? That he could shoot somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose a voter. And you say, it's not that crazy.
No,
Really?
not in the grand scheme of things that Donald Trump has said. It maybe, I don't know, maybe this is his response to New York values. I don't know if he thinks that would be fun. I think it's really inappropriate to say. I think it's really offensive to say in the context of San Bernardino and some of the other violence that we've seen. But he was using a metaphor. He was just making a point. He was like, look, and he was complimenting his audience. So I don't think this nearly comes in comparison to saying, I'm going to build a wall, or I think John McCain isn't a war hero, or, Mexicans might be rapists. So in the scale of things that Donald Trump has said, I don't know. This only gets like a yellow flag.
His supporters are really that staunchly behind him.
Yes.
As are Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
Aren't they?
Yes. I would say probably, even the polling shows, the most loyal supporters out there, they're Bernie Sanders people, they're Donald Trump people. After that, believe it or not, it would actually be Rand Paul, and then it would be Hillary Clinton. So there's an intensity out there. Again, we never know if that's going to translate into caucusing, because caucuses are different from primaries,
right.
But that's what Trump is really banking on right now.
So we have this Democratic debate, too, or this town hall coming up tomorrow night at 9 p.m. With O'Malley and Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. What do you think they're going to be hit with from Iowans? Because Iowans are going to get a chance to say something to them. And what do we need to see from each of them to help move them up a little bit? Well,
look, at this point, Bernie Sanders, thank goodness, no longer has to answer the question of, can you win this thing, right? He's made it clear that he's actually competitive. Bernie Sanders has to convince people that he can accomplish what he's talking about. He said a lot of things. I'm going to make college tuition free. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. People are going to say, hey, how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to get it done? With Hillary Clinton, people have to be convinced, look, I may like you, Hillary Clinton. Can I trust you? Do I think that you're actually...
It's still the trust factor.
But it's
still the likability factor, too, with her.
But I think those things are linked. I think if you like her, you trust her. If you don't like her, you never believed her, and you never believe a Clinton anyway.
Makes a lot of sense. Jason Johnson, thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
So glad to have you here. Now,